Mangwana ni malelepo vukenjani klekwas. Welcome to Africa. Good morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. Today we bring you crucial political updates as Guinea sets December 28 for its first presidential election since the coup. In Seychelles, voters cast ballots in a tense general election and now a rerun will be required, while Ethiopia signs a nuclear power deal with Russia. Sarkozy faces a prison sentence in the Libya funds case. Interpol strikes hard against cybercrime across Africa. In Zambia, Sichula unpacks the national budget, anthem debate, and the elephant conflicts with sport updates. Watch us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube. My name is Ashwin Berry. This is Africa. Good morning. Top stories shortly. Let's get into our top stories on Africa. Good morning. In a closely contested race, Seychelles Electoral Commission announced yesterday, September 28, that the island nation will conduct a rerun presidential election as no candidate achieved the required 50% plus one vote threshold in the first round held on the 27th. Incumbent President Wavo Ramkalawan of the L'Union Democratic Sichula coalition garnered approximately 47.2% of the votes, while opposition leader Patrick Herminy of the United Seychelles Party secured 48.8%, according to preliminary official results reported by the Associated Press and Al Jazeera. Now, this marks the second such runoff since Ramkalawan's narrow 2020 victory ended decades of U.S. dominance. The election, which also included National Assembly voting, unfolded amid high voter turnout of about 73,000 eligible participants across the archipelago's 115 islands. Key campaign issues included economic recovery from post-pandemic tourism slumps. Seychelles boasts Africa's highest GDP per capita, rising living costs, corruption allegation, drug abuse epidemics, and environmental concerns like climate vulnerability and controversial foreign leases such as the Qatari deal for Assumption Island. These are some of the issues. Activists had filed a constitutional challenge against the lease just days before the polling, highlighting sovereignty fears. The rerun date remains unannounced, but it will pit Ramkalawan, who emphasized social development and sustainability, against Herminy, focusing on education decline and graft. Now, international observers noted peaceful proceedings despite tensions, underscoring Seychelles' strategic Indian Ocean position and tourism-driven economy. This outcome reflects deepening political polarization in the nation of 120,000, where the U.S. seeks a comeback after 43 years in power until 2020. Voters were registered, most living in Mahe, home to Victoria, which is the capital. We're staying with elections. Guinea has announced December 28 as the date for its first presidential election in 4 years, following the 21 September referendum on constitutional reforms. The vote, which authorities reported passed with 89% approval and 86% participation, was boycotted by the opposition, which dismissed it as a pre-arranged outcome. Now, the referendum cleared the path for General Mamadi Doumbouya, leader of the transitional government, to run for president. This is despite his earlier pledge during the coup that removed Alpha Conde that he would not seek office. Now, the constitutional amendment extended presidential terms from 5 to 7 years, which are renewable once. Opponents have accused Doumbouya of suppressing while undermining promises of a democratic transition. The upcoming December election is seen as a crucial moment for Guinea, determining whether the nation can move beyond its military-led transition and toward civilian governance. We move on to our next story: nuclear energy. Russia and Ethiopia have signed a framework document to advance the planning and construction of a nuclear power plant in Ethiopia. The deal, confirmed by Russia's state nuclear corporation Rosatom, was finalized during a nuclear power forum in Moscow. Rosatom Director General Alexei Likashev and Ethiopian Electric Company CEO Ashebir Baucha signed the agreement, outlining an action plan that includes a roadmap for technical and economic preparations. The arrangement also commits both sides to train personnel and build capacity within Ethiopia's emerging nuclear sector. Ethiopia joins a growing list of African nations exploring nuclear energy to expand power generation, with Niger also announcing interest in reactors with Rosatom. Currently, South Africa remains the only country on the continent operating a nuclear power facility, though Egypt has reactors under construction. The Ethiopia-Russia agreement marks a significant step in Ethiopia's energy strategy, aiming to address growing demand while diversifying its electricity sources. The collaboration could eventually establish Ethiopia as one of the few African nations with nuclear energy infrastructure, pending successful implementation of the project roadmap. We move on. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been sentenced to 5 years in prison after being found guilty of criminal conspiracy linked to illicit funding from Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. The Paris court acquitted him of passive corruption and illegal campaign financing, but ruled that he permitted aides to solicit funds for his 2007 presidential campaign. Judge Nathalie Gavarino stated the evidence did not prove Sarkozy directly benefited from the illicit financing, though his conviction means he faces jail regardless of an appeal. Sarkozy, who has consistently denied wrongdoing, condemned the ruling as politically motivated and vowed to challenge it. The court also imposed a fine of $117,000. The conviction marks a historic precedent as Sarkozy becomes the first French former president to risk imprisonment over corruption-related charges. The case drew widespread attention due to its connection with Gaddafi's regime, raising questions about foreign influence in French politics. Sarkozy maintains that the accusations are unfounded, while his defense team prepares to pursue the appeal process to overturn the ruling. And in the last of our top stories, Interpol, with UK funding, coordinated a major crackdown across 14 African countries that led to the arrest of 260 individuals accused of sextortion and romance scams. The suspects were linked to criminal networks exploiting social media and digital platforms to defraud victims, often through intimate blackmail or false emotional relationships. Authorities identified more than 1,400 victims across nations, including Ghana, Kenya, and Angola, with estimated losses nearing $2.8 million. Victims spanned age groups, though older people were particularly affected. Between July and August, investigators traced IP addresses, domains, and social media profiles, leading to seizures of devices, SIM cards, and forged documents, as well as dismantling 81 cybercrime groups. Ghana saw 68 arrests with 70,000 recovered from 450,000 in losses. Senegal dismantled a network impersonating celebrities, while Ivory Coast exposed 809 victims tied to fake online profiles. Angola recorded 28 victims through fraudulent identities. Interpol reaffirmed its commitment to dismantling groups targeting vulnerable people online, warning that the spread of digital platforms continues to provide opportunities for scams that cause financial and emotional harm. Those will be our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll be joined by Mike Sichula as he delivers the Zambia report, including news on the recently tabled budget. This is Africa Good Morning. Let's have a look at the weather first. It's time for us to talk to Mike Sichula as he delivers the Zambia report. Mike Uriwanji.
Africa, good morning, dear viewers.
Africa, good morning. Indeed. Now, the finance minister in Zambia presented the 2026 national budget. Take us through it, Mike.
Yes, the budget was presented on Friday, 2025, and the minister presented a budget of 253.1 billion kwacha as a 2026 budget. Then in that budget, 206.5 billion kwacha is supposed to be raised domestically, so which translates into 82% of this budget to be mobilized money to the CDF, the constituency development fund, from 30.5 million kwacha to 40 million kwacha. Then in the same budget, free education is going to continue. Then the Ministry of Education and Health, they're going to employ health workers and teachers. Then on climate change, the minister announced that there will be a single-use policy that is coming in effect next year. This is aimed at ensuring that production of plastics is taken care of and managed in order to reduce its impact on the environment. Then also one of the highlights of this budget is that 1.2 billion kwacha was set aside towards the 2026 general elections, which will be held in August in 2026. So these are some of the highlights that the government has put up to address the challenges of 2026. Then in the energy sector, there's a proposal to build about solar panels, solar systems that can generate 2026 national budget.
All right, Mike, we're going to swing straight into your next story where President Hakainde Hichilema sparked debate after urging traditional leaders to respect the singing of the national anthem.
Quite unusual at a public gathering when President Hakainde Hichilema met traditional leaders from across Zambia in Lusaka last week. So it was because usually in Zambia it is a pattern whenever a national event is taking off, you need to sing the national anthem. So when the president was there, he observed that some traditional leaders did not stand to sing the national anthem. So when he was giving his remarks, he did kind of remind them of the importance of us taking part in the singing of the national anthem. So that is the president there in the picture with hundreds of traditional leaders from across Zambia. So there is a video that I did share. I hope our director can play it, because when the president called for the singing he did tell them to say, whenever I say one Zambia, one nation, you need to respond with that energy. So he was kind of like telling them to repeat after him when he said one Zambia, one nation. I hope our director can see that video. But however, the House of Chiefs chairperson, Chief Chongo, he did say that traditional leaders did not take offense by the president's criticism over their decision to remain seated whilst the national anthem was being sung. He also reminded Zambians that according to customs, traditional leaders do not stand when there is anyone, including the head of state. Then he also said that some of the traditional leaders may have remained seated because of ill health or old age, such that they could not stand for about 2 minutes or so when the national anthem was being sung. So that is how this debate came up on social media, where some people thought the president was disregarding and disrespecting traditional leaders publicly.
We must answer one nation. One nation, one people. One Zambia? No. You should be proud of your country. I noticed that the National Anthem was being sung here and some chiefs were seated. Please, we must respect our country. We must be proud of our country. So I shall repeat, one Zambia, one nation, one people. We shall repeat, one Zambia, one nation, one people. Exactly one people. Very nice.
Now moving on to your next story, Mike. One of the beautiful things about living in this region is the abundance in beautiful wildlife. However, that also raises the potentiality for human-wildlife conflict, which is why this is a harrowing update. Elephant attacks have claimed lives in Livingstone.
Quite a sad state of affairs happening there from Zambia's tourism capital, Livingstone, where from January to date, 7 people have died because of elephant attacks. So the background to this story is that because of encroachment into game reserve areas or areas that are a corridor or a pathway for elephants, a number of people have come under attack. So the elephants in Livingstone, seeing them during the evening as they go about searching for foods and so on and so forth, has become one of the common features in residential areas. So sometimes when these elephants are passing, some people begin to chase them because sometimes they destroy their properties. So in the process of chasing them, they have come under attack. And from January, like I did say, January 2025 to September 2025, 7 people have died. And the government, in order to address this situation, they have been putting up an electric wall fence around the boundaries of the Mosotunya National Park. This was revealed by the Minister of Tourism, Mr. Rodney Sukumba, who regretted that human-wildlife conflict has continued to be a threat to the people of Livingstone, and it is also a threat to the animals such as elephants, because in some instances, these elephants have ended up being attacked, with some of them dying because of human-inflicted injuries. Quite a very sad state of affairs from Livingstone.
All right, Mike, we do certainly hope that that situation can be mitigated as efficiently as possible. To close off, bring us up to speed with the results of the under-20 women's national team, as well as how Zambian teams performed in CAF competitions over the weekend.
So for the under-20 women's national team, they were carrying a 2-1 first leg victory when they beat Burundi 2-1 in Bujumbura. So in their second leg at Ndola's Levi Mwanawasa Stadium, the women's under-20 team beat Burundi by 2-0 to progress to the next round of the competition. So they carried a 4-1 aggregate score to advance to the second second stage of the competition, where they are likely to meet Uganda, and if they progress over Uganda, they'll meet South Africa. So for our viewers, if the under-20 manages to qualify to the World Cup, it will be their first time at this age limit. The under-17 has qualified to the World Cup before. The senior national team has qualified to the World Cup before, but for the under-20, they have not qualified. Then there in the picture there is Zesco United. Zesco are participating in the Confederation Cup. So in the second leg, they were down by 2-0 against a team from Gabon, FC 5105. But yesterday at Ndola Levis Manawasa Stadium, Zesco United managed to overcome that 2-goal deficit by beating the Gabonese side 5-0. Then in the picture there, it is Power Dynamos who are performing in the Champions League. They beat ASEC Mimosa in Ndola 1-0, but when they went to Abidjan, they lost 1-0, meaning the aggregate score was 1-1. But the Power Dynamos managed to progress to the next stage after winning that match 5-4-5 on post-match penalties. So it has been a very good outing for Zambian teams in the World Cup and CAF competitions. So far, Zesco Power Dynamos have progressed to the next stage, as well as the under-20 women's national team.
Thank you very much, Mike, for delivering the Zambia report as you do so well. I will not bring up any of Manchester United's results, but I will bring up Arsenal's. I'm feeling good, my friend. I'm feeling very good.
I'm comforted because it is not only Manchester United lost. We had Chelsea, we had Liverpool losing, so we are in the same WhatsApp group. Congratulations to Arsenal. Africa, good morning to our here.
Let's dive straight into the economic news. Program as part of its efforts to diversify its economy away from reliance on diamonds. Speaking in New York, and this was during the 80th United Nations General Assembly, Boko emphasized that the initiative is designed to safeguard the nation's long-term financial security. Botswana, the world's leading producer of diamonds by value, has faced a prolonged downturn in the global diamond market, leading to significant pressure on the national budget. The new program is expected to generate funds for priority areas such as housing, tourism, renewable energy, mining, and financial services, although the specific investment thresholds required has not yet been determined. Last year, the economy contracted by 3%, and another contraction is projected for 2025. In recent months, Boko declared a public health emergency due to failures in the medical supply chain. And in September, the government launched a sovereign wealth fund aimed at creating jobs, driving diversification, as well as managing state-owned enterprises. Investment migration consultancy Art and Capital has been retained to help establish the citizenship program. In the last of our economic news stories and the last of our stories, Zimbabwe, Africa's top tobacco producer, is pursuing a shift toward blueberries, boosted by a landmark trade deal with China. For the first time, Beijing agreed to import Zimbabwean blueberries without tariffs, unlocking a potentially lucrative market for the fruit. Tobacco sales reached $1.3 billion last year, largely driven by Chinese demand, while blueberry exports stood at $30 million. Farmers like Alistair Campbell, a former cricket captain, are investing heavily with his 50-hectare farm housing 240,000 plants cultivated under high-tech systems. Blueberries are harvested and refrigerated swiftly to retain quality, with production expected to rise by 50% this year to 12,000 tons. Zimbabwe hopes to expand to 30,000 tons by 2030. Compared with competitors like Morocco and Peru, Zimbabwe's early harvest offers a market edge. The industry already employs 6,000 people, mostly women, providing critical livelihoods. However, challenges remain, including investor concerns about land security and foreign exchange regulations. Farmers and officials believe the new Chinese deal marks a turning point, positioning Zimbabwe as a potential blueberry powerhouse in Africa and beyond. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. Let's have a look at the highlights from the show before we say goodbye. All right, these are some of the highlights from the top stories on Africa Good Morning on Monday, 29 September. Seychelles to hold rerun presidential election after no candidate secures 50% majority. Guinea sets December 28 for first presidential election since coup. Russia and Ethiopia sign deal for nuclear power plant construction. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy sentenced to 5 years over Libya funds case. Interpol sting nets 260 suspects in African sextortion and romance scam rings. Botswana to introduce citizenship-by-investment scheme amid diamond slump. And Zimbabwe eyes blueberry boom amid shifting from tobacco dominance. Do make sure you check us out on oneup2.com. Click the Echo icon and you can watch us again, because on oneup2.com, Echo primetime is anytime. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, Network Media Hub, and NTV Africa is also where you can find us, and that is on YouTube for the last two platforms. This has been Africa Good Morning. Tomorrow we are joined by Talent Gore as she brings the Zimbabwe report, and we bring you the stories from broader Africa. Sweda Jakanaka.